Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. I am your host, Ken.
And I am your other host, Scott.
And Scott's camera is frozen. Well, life is good. So we'll move to that while I try to figure that issue out.
Nice.
There's been a lot of bugaboos in the system this evening, folks, but one bugaboo that we haven't had is our guest showed up, which is awesome. Welcome to Willie Miller, former Husker fullback and 1997 national champion. We're here to talk about football, addiction, and recovery and the freedom that comes from that. So we hope you stick around for the conversation. It should be insightful, should be fun. And to anyone out there who's considering maybe making a lifestyle change, this is a conversation you do not want to miss. So, Willie, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate you having me on tonight. Thank you.
Not a problem. We've really enjoyed this You've been here since about 6:30, and we've kind of met the family and hung out down here in the studio and talked for a while and heard some cool stories from your time at NU. And it's just been, I can't wait to see how this conversation unfolds. So, right off the get, we'll just let everybody know the plan is we'll talk a little bit about his time at NU, but then we're going to spend the bulk of our time talking about his post-football life and how he ended up where he is today, which is an OR nurse, right?
That's
at Methodist, Bryan Methodist?
Methodist.
Or just Methodist Hospital
Methodist
in Omaha,
Hospital.
right?
You got it.
So
Yep.
Anyway, so let's just kick it off with the fun stuff. Actually, Willie, there's a question I have to ask you, and I did not warn you of this ahead of time because I wanted a response that's absolutely natural.
Okay.
And the question I have for you is, why on earth did you wear number 15 right after Tommie Frazier graduated? How could you break my heart?
That's a great question. You know, so in high school, I wore the number 40. That was the number that I got when I moved up to varsity at the end of my freshman year. And I wore it all through high school. Got down to Lincoln. I knew what Schlesinger just got done wearing that. And then when I got there, Bill Legate already had it. So the next thing was, okay, he's got that number taken. And I just want to be different, just want to be different. And no other fullback at that time had any number lower than like 22 or something in the 20s. So I just asked coach, so let's say, can I wear 15? And they're like, well, if they can find one, big enough in your size, sure. And I think they pretty much thought they probably wouldn't be able to get one big enough, or that they had one on hand. So they probably thought they could just kind of, laugh that off,
cheese it out,
be like, nice try, Willie. They only make them in smalls or mediums, but they happen to have one. So next thing you know, I'm wearing 15. But the other thing, really and truthfully, is that with Tommie and the amazing player he was, I knew without a doubt I wasn't going to make any kind of history with the number 15, but I knew a lot of eyes would be on it. And so I'm a person that also likes to put a lot of pressure on myself in that sense. Like, for instance, with recovery, I put a lot of my business out there about recovery. It's one of those things, just holds you accountable. So therefore, I knew that playing to make sure, hey, I don't take plays off. Therefore, put a number on you. So I put 15 on. So like I said, there was no, disrespect towards Tommie at all. It was more so of an honor to try and, show him that I respected the heck out of him, and I wanted to bring some pride to that number, even though it didn't need any. Because, like I said, it still shines today, and everybody knows whose number that is.
Yes,
but
sir.
Still, it just would look happy. Who the heck is this fullback wearing freaking 15? Just kind of, confuse people or play with them a little bit. So it was fun. It was fun.
200 IQ move.
200, I like the move. I figured that was probably what the reasoning was. That's why I didn't ask you about it before, but I think that's really cool. Living up to the legacy of the number. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So you ended up you played high school football in Omaha, right?
That's correct. Bellevue West High School.
Bellevue. Okay.
Yep.
And who was the one that reached out from NU first to contact you? And were they the only school that was after you, or were there some other Division I schools coming?
No, there was several Division I schools contacting me. So Coach John Feynman was my head high school football coach, and he basically paid attention to the way that I was in the weight room before I even was a freshman, actually, at Bellevue West, and I was working out. And so he just saw how hard I worked. There's a guy there that worked with us named Odious Lee, and we worked out with Odious all the time. So they knew how much I invested into it and how hard I worked. So that was rewarded by me being the starting fullback my sophomore year right away. And I remember that, he had told me, Feynman had told me later on, had he known how young I was, he wouldn't have made that decision, because I was 13 and I turned 14 in September.
Oh, wow.
13, 14,
Okay.
15, 16, 17, something like that. Point is, because I graduated when I was 17, so I don't want to do all the math specific diving thinking right now. I don't mess it up. But my point is that he didn't realize how young I was, because I was a year younger than everybody when I graduated. So long story short is that he had me starting my sophomore year. I think by the end of that year, my numbers had me in the top 10 rushers in the state. And from that point, Nebraska was talking to me right away. That's what Coach Solis was, running back coach. But then all the other colleges around Colorado was, Kansas State was, Kansas was, Northwestern was. So all these different universities were also reaching out. Yeah. Now I can tell you that part of that whole time frame is that Lincoln talked to me the whole time. Going into my junior year, there was a lot of anticipation about how I was going to perform, what I was going to do. And I happened to get in a car wreck with my best friend in high school. He was driving and we lost control of the car as we were doing silly kid things and, messing around with some other buddies of ours. And the car rolled and flipped and all that good stuff. I got thrown out of the car, after it rolled a couple of times. Then I get thrown out the side window, hit a tree, and lay there for a minute. Nothing's broken. No stitches were required, but it ripped the heck out of both my groins. And so I could barely run that season at all. And so the result of which was all the other universities are reaching out to me, because you're getting letters all the time, right? Getting all these letters. This is back in the day. There's no email. There's no social media things. You get letters. And you take your little letters and you put them in your little box, so you can reference them. You can't put them back on email and say, oh, yeah, I remember that email from back. No, it's your letter in your box. You go search through it and you file it, you find it. Everyone stopped contacting me. The only person who did not was Coach Solis at Lincoln. And then going into my senior year, I went down to the camp that Lincoln had to give a chance to kind of show them, because, again, I've shared this before. I hated blocking. You would not see me block in high school. You would see me get run over by guys at times, things like that, because that's when I took my play off. That was my take a play off is, you want me to block? I'm taking a play off. But I'd run the ball as hard as I could and like crazy. So being down at that camp, they got a chance to see me running like I normally would. They got a chance, though, to also see me where Solis had told me, he believed in me. He believed that I had the ability to be a great blocker, because he saw the passion that I had when I ran. He saw the pad level that I had. He saw all these tools he felt I had that he could just help shape them, make them, mold them into exactly what he's looking for a starting fullback. So being down there, that gave that exposure. Came into my senior year, we're doing just a regular, I formation. Going to the first 2 or 3 games, I had my regular 100 yards a game. Our tailback gets kicked off the team because he was doing some things. I guess he got caught doing some stuff he shouldn't have been doing. I talked to Coach Feynman at the time, asked him, can we go single back? Because he knew how much I love running the ball. He lets me know, well, are you really wanting to run the ball 25 to 30 times a game? I said, absolutely. He said, I'd love to do that. He said, I'll give you an audition. How about that? He says, is that fair? I said, absolutely. He's like, so we're playing Omaha South this week. We'll see how it goes. If it goes well, then I'll entertain it. But that at least gives me some time to figure out what the heck I want to do anyway. I'm like, perfect. So we go and we play against Omaha South for that game. I think it was something like 27 carries for like 260 something yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns. It's how that started, but that's how it went the rest of the season. Yeah, I think the average was around 225 to 230 a game from that point on. I mean, the game that Coach Solis came to was us playing against Omaha Bryan. They had the number 1, number 2 running backs in the state, and he got a show. I mean, I ended up putting up like 302 yards on 30 carries. The other kid put up like 275. His last name was Kellogg. I had like 5 touchdowns. He had like 4 touchdowns. So it was just boom, 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 back and forth. And long story short is, they basically offer, but at the same time, that's when everybody starts contacting me. Everybody's offering. And my thing was, I'm all about loyalty.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
they never gave up on me. They talked to me the whole time. Now, they didn't have the offer on the table, but once I kind of proved myself and was leading the state, I think it was exactly, 7 games into that senior year. It was 100 attempts, running the ball for exactly 1,000 yards. It was boom, boom. That's how it lined up. Then that's when they offered, and that's when everybody else did. And yeah, so that's how I got down to Lincoln, was through that. And, you know, again, I had to think, you know, Coach Farman, he's passed away. He's been gone for a little while, but had he not given me that opportunity, you know, who knows what would happen, because everybody was done, you know, watching me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you get to Lincoln, you redshirted 96, right?
Yeah.
And then how much did you play in 97? Did you play special teams? Did you play at all?
Oh, yeah. I was on special teams. Yeah.
Okay.
I lettered. I was a 4-year letterman. So I was on kickoff return. Was a fullback that we set the wedge. So at the time, be Billy Gate and I. Then it transferred at times. It'd been Kingston and I back there. Joel was a starter. Got in on that. Also was about my 3rd string fullback or so, something like that during that season, you know, and got a little bit of the playing time because we started blowing some people out. I mean, I got into my first touchdown that I had down there. I only had a few. Was Coach Osborne's 250 victory against Oklahoma. You know, we got to beating them to a certain point where I don't know if this is true or not, because, again, I'm just engaged. I'm in the game. I'm playing. But I'd heard that Coach Osborne's kind of letting Oklahoma's head coach know that, hey, we're coming to the right or we're coming to the left. Because, again, he wasn't going to have us stop playing hard, because we practiced so hard back in the day. It was ridiculous that he wanted us to have the opportunity to be out there and do what we could do. Ended up scoring, you know, I scored my first touchdown in that game. So it was pretty cool, because it was his, you know, 250 victories, my very first touchdown. I mean,
it was against Oklahoma.
And it was against Oklahoma. But it was different back then. It was different. Well, I can tell you, too, that was, I'm not going to try and worry about being political, all that kind of stuff. The point is that Oklahoma, the saying was, they looked like Tarzan, played like Jane. By the time we were done playing, or by the time my time period was done at Lincoln, Oklahoma looked like Tarzan, played like Tarzan. You know, it was no joke. But they have always been specimens and some athletic people. Just their passion, though, when that first year, my redshirt freshman year, they just didn't have that. So
they weren't there yet.
Yeah. So,
yeah, those were some of the biggest beatdowns we'd ever given Oklahoma, was in 96, 97. I think we dropped 60 on them in Norman in 96. And then, what was it, 69-7 or 63-7 or something like that that year when you got in the game?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. So move on to, you played in 42 games. I kind of looked up some of the stats. You were a 2-time academic All-American.
All Big 12.
All Big 12. Okay. And then, it was all conference, wasn't it?
Well, that's all good.
and then Brooke Beringer, you got the citizenship team. Yep. That's pretty cool. Move on to when did you really start playing a lot? Was it 99? Was that the year that you really started getting into the game a lot more? Because Joel was gone.
Right.
Joel was gone. Who was ahead of you at that point? Was it Krewald? Krewald wasn't yet.
Krewald was after.
Yep. Okay.
Krewald and those guys were afterwards. So basically, I had played my way into basically being Joel's backup by the end of that year. So my sophomore year. Going into my senior year, Joel was gone. Legate was gone. That left myself, Ben Kingston, Josh Cobb, this kid Tyrone Euler that came in from Battle Creek. We had they just gave us So at that point, though, was when I ended up starting. You know, we went through spring ball. I had a big surgery before that year, where they had to reattach my groins and reattach my left abdominal wall to the pelvis and all that good stuff. It's the old turf. They called that, I forget, some osteitis pubitis, term is what they called it back then. It was like the thing that D'Angelo Evans had. I had to get it done. Several other guys. I mean, Scott Shanley ended up having to get it done. So, and so going into my junior year, I knew that I was going to be the starter, and really had prepared. And I can say without a doubt, my junior year was a year when I was in the best shape of my life. I was as fast as I'd ever been. I was the cuttest and leanest I'd ever been to start that season. And then, that season started going. So Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. 2000, that was the year you started all 12 games. Is that true?
So
I know you started 12. At least that's what the stats on Huskers.com said, that you started all 12 that year.
So the way the stats work too, just so you know, because I didn't understand how that worked either, because I was I've always, when I got done playing and I hear that, that was a 4-year letterman, that I started like 12 games or something like that. I was frustrated. I was hurt because I'm like, how did I only start 12 games when I'm the starting fullback my junior and senior season?
Oh, gotcha.
Full time, okay. And the way that it works is the same reason I did not end up getting academic All-American. They base that on the rules of the game, and whoever starts in the formation is considered the starter for the game. So we had several games where we opened in an ace formation or a trips formation where there is no fullback. We did that a lot my senior year, which means I didn't get a start for those games. And so that's fine. None of that matters. Again, it's all about the game, the opponent, what we're trying to do. But I did not know during that time that gets me dinged on my career starts or anything like that. Because, who knows? As a young kid filled with testosterone and ego, I'm sure I would have been pretty pissed off. Been like, wait a minute, I'm the starter. Like, no. But, you're just doing your job. You're playing for your team. You're trying to win. And at the end of the day, you find out that you don't get credit for starts because you're in a different formation. To me, like today, it's like none of that even matters because that was a starter. But yeah, when you're looking at the numbers and those type of things,
stats.
The official stat of starts. No, I started 2 full seasons. I missed a couple of games my junior year due to getting a high ankle sprain, like a game or 2. I can't really remember. But yeah, things like
one
that.
Of those. Those aren't fun.
No.
Those aren't fun at all. I guess just to wrap up kind of your time at NU, that Tennessee game. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. That Tennessee game. Scott, would you do me a favor while he answers this question? Could you unplug the USB cable from your camera here?
Yes.
I guess I could have done that. I keep thinking it's that one, but it's this one. Sorry, folks. Just behind the scenes fun stuff, and then plug it back in.
Yes.
What was I going to ask? Oh, the Tennessee game.
Yeah,
that 2000 Fiesta Bowl, which wasn't your last bowl game. Obviously, you played against Northwestern that next year, too, in that Alamo Bowl that we just absolutely went spanko on them. How cool was that to bust some of those runs against that defense that I'm sure were chirping just as much as they were chirping in 97?
That was special. That was special. The thing about that game was that was Coach McBride's last game. And I can't speak for all the guys, but I can speak for myself. Like being a kid, and you're red shirting, that means that whole season I'm going against his number 1 defense and I'm giving them my best. And Coach McBride was a pretty awesome guy that when he saw that guys gave their all, he respected that, and he had a respect for you, even though you weren't his guy, because you weren't on defense. You're still his guy because of the effort you give and your determination and your willingness to come to practice every single day and go against his number 1 guys. So for me personally, it was just one of those things like this is, last chance to kind of be a part of something big for Coach McBride. And to have some of those big runs that happened, it's pretty cool. So this is the long one that I got caught on that I love to talk about. And because look, as you get older,
it's that SEC speed, dude.
It's not just the SEC speed, man. It's the fact that as you're older, man, we will run the ball and we literally you'd run you run your play out. So that's 20 something, 25, 30 yards that you're giving your max. And you'll run when you're testing, you run your 40.
Yeah.
And that's about it as far as when it comes to, say, long runs, especially, say, for a fullback, Now, tailbacks, they're consistently used to that during scrimmages, games, things like that. They get a big break. But a fullback, you got to remember that game down there in Tennessee. I remember getting on the scale because they got all the bowl food and everything else. And I remember Doak Ostergaard taking a look at me going, Willie, what's Willie, the scale? It said 268.
Oh, you went in that game at 268.
Yeah, so that's me playing at 268, and I played about 265 my time down there. Even my leanest best for the start of that junior year was hovering right under 260. me a little heavy, was close to 270. But for that game, the day before I got on the scale was 268. And I think, I've happened to see that because I'm not a guy that goes back and watches a lot of my old game film and stuff. It's different. I don't know how to explain it. So I really don't watch a lot of that, but that's one that I will, because people ask about it or want to see it. And so I've watched that one. It's like, you see me scoot. And then I think you see me, like I said, I turn in kind of the water boy where I'm, it's just, it's not, I don't know. It's just kind of like, what the hell is going on all of a sudden? Because I'm tired. And there's a really fast guy coming up behind me, and I know he's probably going to catch me. So I really shouldn't be doing the technique of looking over my shoulder. It slows you down. Yes, I know better. As some little kid told me, a week back after I got back from that game, don't ever look over your shoulder.
Yeah,
I know, kid. Just get there one day. Just get there one day.
You'll understand.
But the point is that yes, it just I got caught, and it's the neat thing for me personally is on any of those kind of plays, I never hurt the crowd. Mm-hmm. And don't really even see the crowd. I just see what's in front of me, what's in my
mm-hmm.
bubble. But at moments like that, you hear the crowd. I would hear the crowd, hear the roar, and it was just something you can't even put words to it. So, yeah,
absolutely.
So special. Yeah,
absolutely.